Leavitt was refused service at a small cafe in town because of her political views. She could have raged on social media, called for a boycott, or simply stormed off in anger. But instead she did something so unexpected that it not only changed the fate of one eatery, but also impacted an entire community. Her response to the rejection wasn't vengeance, but kindness, something truly shocking in today's divided world. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. The story begins on an ordinary evening at Cedar Grove Cafe in Atkinson, New Hampshire. Karoline Leavitt pulled into the gravel parking lot of the cafe. The neon open sign flickered in the window, casting a red glow on puddles left from the afternoon rain. She had just returned to her hometown after a long work trip from Washington, D.C., and decided to stop by the cafe to get some work done on her laptop. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since breakfast. A small bell jingled above the door as Karoline stepped inside. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and fried potatoes filled the air. Country music played softly from ceiling speakers, mixing with the low hum of locals eating at the 6 tables in the room. A waitress with curly brown hair tied in a ponytail looked up and smiled. "Sit anywhere you like," she called out, balancing 3 plates on her arm with skill. Her name tag read Emma. Karoline picked a small corner near the window, set her laptop down, and picked up the plastic menu. Everything looked tempting after a long day. The special was a grilled chicken sandwich with melted cheese, a dish that reminded her of the meals her mom used to make at home. The memory made her smile. Emma finished delivering an order and walked over with a glass of water and a notepad. "Welcome to Cedar Grove Cafe. Can I get you some coffee?" she asked. "Great, thanks," Karoline replied, as Emma turned toward the coffee counter. Suddenly a woman stepped out from the kitchen. She wore an apron embroidered with the name Rachel, her hands dusted with flour. When she saw Karoline, Rachel froze. "Emma, come here a sec," she called, her voice sharp. Emma looked puzzled but set her notepad down and walked over. They whispered by the cash register. Emma's eyes widened, glancing at Karoline. Rachel's face flushed as she spoke, drawing the attention of other customers. The chatter in the cafe died down. Rachel smoothed her apron, marched straight to Karoline's table, Emma trailing timidly behind. "Sorry, but I can't serve you here," Rachel said, her voice tense but firm. Karoline looked up, surprised. "I'm sorry, I know who you are, Miss Leavitt. I don't agree with your politics, or Trump's for that matter, and I'm not comfortable with you here," Rachel continued, crossing her arms. "This is my place, and I get to decide who eats here." The cafe fell silent. Every eye turned to them. A man at the counter set his coffee mug down with a distinct clink. Emma stood off to the side, clutching her notepad to her chest, looking like she wanted to disappear. Karoline felt her face heat up. Her first thought was to argue back, to tell Rachel that turning away customers over politics wasn't smart business. She could make a scene or post a status online for her millions of followers to see. But instead, she took a deep breath, keeping her voice calm. "I understand," she said softly, folding the menu and placing it back. "It's your place, your call." Rachel seemed caught off guard by the calm response. She'd braced for a fight. "Thanks for being up front," Karoline added, standing from her chair. "Have a good evening." She walked to the door, feeling every eye in the cafe on her. The bell jingled again as she stepped out of Cedar Grove Cafe into the cool evening air. Sitting in her car, hands on the steering wheel, her stomach still growled, but now there was a heaviness in her chest too. Through the window, she saw Rachel saying something to the customers, her hands waving quickly as if explaining. Some nodded, others looked uneasy. Emma stood by the coffee maker, head down, staring at her shoes, clearly still shaken. Karoline pulled out her phone, scrolled through her contacts, and found a familiar name. She dialed. The phone rang 3 times before a voice answered. "Hey, it's Karoline. Remember that thing we talked about last month? I think I found the perfect spot," she said, her eyes on the warm yellow lights of Cedar Grove Cafe against the darkening sky. "Yeah, tomorrow works. I'll send details. Trust me, people will be surprised." She gave a small smile, hung up and started the car. The radio came on, playing a Taylor Swift song. She wasn't angry anymore, but felt a spark of hope. Emma watched Karoline's car disappear down Atkinson's country road. The air in Cedar Grove Cafe settled back to normal, but she still felt heavy inside. "Can you believe it?" Rachel stepped up beside her, voice full of surprise. "She just left, no fuss." "Should we have done that?" Emma asked quietly, eyes still on the floor. "She just wanted to eat." Rachel clenched her fists, her face tightening. "My family lost our grocery store because of Trump policies she supports. I can't serve someone like that and feel okay." Emma nodded, but didn't reply. The bell jingled as a family of 4 walked in. Rachel put on a professional smile and went to greet them. For the rest of her shift, Emma took orders and carried plates, but her mind kept drifting to Karoline's face when she was refused, not angry, but sad. As she wiped down the last table before closing, Emma wondered what Karoline did after leaving. Maybe found another diner, or posted about mean Rachel in this little cafe. Tomorrow would probably just be another normal day at Cedar Grove Cafe, she thought, unaware of what was coming. Her feet ached as she climbed the 3 flights of stairs to her apartment. The elevator had been broken for months, and the landlord kept saying next week for repairs, a promise she stopped believing after the 4th time. The hallway smelled of burnt food. Emma fished for her keys, trying not to make noise. It was nearly midnight, and her grandma was probably asleep. She pushed the door open into the dark living room. A small lamp clicked on. "You're home late," a gentle voice said. Clara Hayes sat in a faded green armchair, a knitted blanket over her legs, silver hair loosely tied, reading glasses hanging around her neck. "Sorry, Grandma. Rachel asked me to stay and check inventory," Emma said, setting her bag on the kitchen counter. "Why aren't you asleep? Did you take your meds?" Clara waved a hand. "I took them. I'm not a kid. Come sit, you look worried." Emma kicked off her shoes and sank onto the sofa. She could never hide from Clara. Her grandma had raised her since she was 8, after her parents died in a car crash. Clara read her like a book. "Something happened at the cafe today," Emma started, recounting how Karoline Leavitt came in, and Rachel refused her. "She got kicked out in front of everyone. But the weird thing is, she didn't get mad, just said 'I understand,' and left." Clara frowned. "And you feel bad, like you did something wrong?" Emma nodded, leaning back on the sofa. "I do feel bad, Grandma," Clara said softly. "Maybe you were wrong. Rachel's got her reasons, but turning someone away just for disagreeing, that's not how I raised you." Emma sighed. "But what could I do? Rachel's the boss. I need this job. Your meds are expensive. Rent's going up again." Clara patted her hand. "Don't worry about me. We've been through worse." Emma worried every day. Clara's heart condition needed costly meds, and with no insurance they scraped by. The cafe job wasn't great, but it was the only place in Atkinson that fit her community college schedule. Rachel stressed, Emma added. "Last week she said if business doesn't pick up, she might cut hours. It's tough on everyone." Clara nodded, glancing at the stack of bills on the table. "What do you think Karoline will do?" Emma asked. "Will she post something telling people to avoid the cafe?" Clara pulled the blanket higher. "Who knows? People surprise you sometimes. I just hope she doesn't stir up trouble." Rachel's stubborn but not bad. "Her family's been through a lot." Clara went quiet for a moment. "Everyone's got their story, their reasons," she said, looking at the flickering streetlight outside. "Sometimes the kindest people are the ones who've hurt the most." Emma wasn't sure if she meant Rachel, Karoline, or someone else. Clara often said things like riddles, their meaning clear only later. "I'm going to bed early shift tomorrow," she said, standing and kissing Clara's cheek. "You rest too, okay?" Clara squeezed her hand. "Whatever happens tomorrow, be kind. That's all that matters." Her tone made Emma pause. "Do you know something I don't?" Clara smiled mysteriously. "Just an old lady with old thoughts. Go sleep." Emma helped her to bed, set out water and morning meds, then went to her small room and changed into pajamas. Lying in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about Karoline's calm face as she left, the call she made in her car, and Rachel's worried look over the books. She pulled the covers up and closed her eyes. Whatever tomorrow brought, she'd face it, like always. She drifted off, thinking of Karoline's words. "Thanks for being up front," strange to say to someone who just kicked you out. The next morning, her alarm blared while it was still dark. Emma groaned, fumbling to silence her phone, knocking it to the floor. She hated morning shifts, but an extra $1 an hour made it worth it. After a quick shower, she checked on Clara, still sleeping peacefully. Emma left a note on the counter. "Lunch in the fridge, call if you need anything, love you." The air was chilly. She zipped her jacket and hurried down Main Street. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky pink and gold. As she turned toward Cedar Grove Cafe, Emma froze. A crowd of about 30 people stood outside the cafe. Her first thought was a protest. Had Karoline called people to cause trouble? But as she got closer, she noticed something odd. No signs, just people waiting, some holding gas station coffee cups, chatting lively. An old man checked his watch. "Excuse me, I work here," Emma said, pushing through. "What's going on?" A woman in a red coat smiled. "We're waiting for it to open. Is it true Karoline Leavitt told people to come here?" Emma blinked, bewildered. "What? No, that's not." A man interrupted, cutting her off. "I saw her post. She said this place has the best coffee around." Before Emma could reply, a news van screeched to a stop out front. A tall man with slicked back hair, holding a microphone, jumped out, followed by a cameraman. "Perfect timing," he said, spotting Emma. "You work here, I'm Jake Carter from Channel 9 News. Can we get a few words about this social media sensation?" Emma faltered. "I don't know what everyone's talking about." She fumbled for her keys and unlocked the door. "I have to open the cafe. Sorry, I can't be late," she said, dodging Jake's interview request. Emma slipped inside and locked the door behind her immediately. Inside, Cedar Grove Cafe was dark, save for the kitchen light Rachel had left on. Emma flipped the main switch, and the familiar buzz of fluorescent lights hummed to life. She hung her coat, tied on her apron, and tried to make sense of what was happening. Her phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from Rachel. She was about to call back when the back door burst open. "Emma, thank God you're here." Rachel rushed in, face flushed, no makeup, blonde hair in a messy ponytail instead of its usual neat bun. "Have you seen it? It's packed out there. They say Karoline Leavitt told people to come here online." "This is insane." Rachel shoved her phone into Emma's hands. On the screen was Karoline's TikTok video, filmed right in front of Cedar Grove Cafe with its charming green awning and window flower boxes. She said, "Just got refused service at Cedar Grove Cafe in Atkinson for working for President Trump. I respect their right, but trust me, the coffee smells amazing, and everyone inside looked so nice. Small businesses are the heart of America, even if they don't want to serve me. If you're nearby, stop by and see for yourself. Support local always." Emma looked up, stunned. She's sending people to eat here after getting kicked out? That makes no sense. Rachel snatched the phone back, muttering, "What's her game? Is she trying to embarrass me?" Emma said slowly, "It doesn't feel like a game. It sounds like forgiveness." Rachel scoffed. "No one's that nice, especially not politicians." The front door rattled with knocks. Jake the reporter waved through the glass, pointing at his watch. 20 minutes till we open," Rachel yelled. "I just need a quick quote about the viral video," Jake shouted back. "Viral?" Rachel repeated, her face paling. "Get ready," Emma said, voice practical. "Those people out there will want breakfast." The next 15 minutes were a whirlwind. Rachel called the other waitress, Sophie, to come in early. They brewed extra coffee and prepped double batches of toast. Emma fired up all 4 griddles instead of the usual 2. Right at opening time, Rachel unlocked the door. Customers flooded in, filling every table in seconds. Jake and his cameraman claimed a corner, pleading, "Just one quote," while Rachel handed out menus. "No comment unless you order," she snapped. Jake grinned. I'll take the chicken sandwich special. By mid-morning, the cafe had a wait list. Rachel called in the part-time cook, Louise, who usually only worked lunch shifts. The kitchen was chaos, the doorbell chiming non-stop. Emma kept glancing up, half expecting Karoline to walk in. In a rare quiet moment, Emma caught Rachel by the window, staring at the crowd outside. "We're gonna run out of food," Rachel said softly. "I've never seen it this busy, not even at Christmas." "Isn't that good?" Emma asked. Rachel frowned. "I don't know what this is. Why'd she do it?" "I insulted her, kicked her out." "Maybe she's just kind," Emma replied. "No one's that kind," Rachel repeated, but her voice wavered. The bell rang, and an elderly couple stepped in, marveling at the crowd. "Is this where Karoline Leavitt got refused?" the woman asked loudly. "She told us to come support." "So impressive." Rachel flushed, nodded silently, and led them to a freshly cleared table. All morning, Emma watched Rachel. She moved stiffly, her smile forced, flinching whenever Karoline's name came up. By noon, 3 news vans were parked outside. The story was spreading. The cafe that refused Karoline Leavitt was now the hottest spot around, thanks to Karoline herself. After the rush, Rachel disappeared into the tiny office and shut the door. 10 minutes later, Emma brought her coffee and found Rachel at the desk, quietly crying. "I don't get it," Rachel whispered. "Why didn't she fight back?" Emma didn't know what to say, set the coffee down, and stepped back. "Maybe she's just a kind person," she said finally. Rachel wiped her eyes with a napkin. "No one's that good, especially not in politics," she sighed, straightening up. "Let's get back out there. Dinner crowd's coming." For the next week, Cedar Grove Cafe was packed from morning to night. Rachel ordered extra supplies twice, hired 2 new waitresses and a cook. Cash flowed in so fast, she had to run to the bank midday. One Friday afternoon, Emma overheard 2 customers chatting as she poured coffee. "It's gotta be a stunt," a guy in a work uniform said. "She wants Rachel to look bad, and people are just coming to watch her fail." "I don't think so," the other countered. "My cousin works with Karoline's assistant, says she's genuinely nice. Maybe she meant it about supporting local." "Politicians don't do nice without an angle," the first insisted. Emma moved to another table, but similar debates echoed around the cafe, some skeptical, others buying Karoline's kindness. During a break, Emma checked her phone. The story had blown past Atkinson, big outlets were covering it. Karoline Leavitt responds to rejection with kindness and political divide. Cafe owner refuses press secretary. Photos of Cedar Grove Cafe flooded the internet. People argued over Rachel's rights, praised Karoline's peaceful response, some called for boycotts, others planned visits. Emma felt dizzy from it all. Their little cafe was now a symbol in a bigger fight, nothing to do with coffee or sandwiches. That night at home, Clara was watching local news. Jake Carter stood outside Cedar Grove Cafe, speaking into a mic. Owner Rachel Bennett has declined further comment on why she refused Karoline Leavitt, but sources say it's tied to personal political reasons. Emma grabbed the remote and shut it off. "Why are you watching that?" "It's all lies." She flopped onto the sofa. "They don't know Rachel or why she did it." Clara eyed her. "You look exhausted." "I am." Emma rubbed her eyes. "The cafe's been slammed all week, my feet are killing me." But Rachel's worse. She barely sleeps, jumps every time the door opens, like she's waiting for Karoline to walk in. "Do you think she regrets it?" Emma pondered. "I don't know, she's a mess, we all are." She looked at Clara. "If it were you, what would you do if someone you disagreed with came into your cafe?" Clara was quiet for a moment. "When I was young, your grandpa and I ran a little grocery store. Things were different then. Some folks didn't want us serving certain customers just because of their skin color." Emma nodded. She'd heard those stories. "We decided our store was for everyone, not because we agreed with them all, but because we believed you judge people by how they treat others, not who they are or what they believe." Clara took Emma's hand. "It wasn't easy. We lost friends, got threats." "This is different though," Emma said. "How's it different?" Clara asked gently. "Kicking someone out is big. It says they're not welcome, that's a heavy message." Emma didn't reply, She helped Clara to bed, checked her phone one last time before sleep. Karoline Leavitt hadn't posted more about the cafe, just that one TikTok had drawn the crowds. The next morning, Emma arrived early. The crowd outside Cedar Grove Cafe had thinned, but it was still unusually busy for a weekend. Inside, Rachel was flipping pancakes, dark circles under her eyes. Stark. "You're here early." Emma tied on her apron. "Couldn't sleep," Rachel replied. Flipping deftly. "Bank called yesterday. Wants to meet about that loan I applied for last month. Suddenly I'm a promising client." She gave a weak laugh. "One busy week and everyone thinks I'm thriving." "Isn't that good news?" Emma asked. Rachel paused, staring at the spatula. "Good. I kicked someone out because I didn't like her politics. She responded by bringing me more business than I've seen in 3 years. What does that make me?" Before Emma could answer, noise erupted from the front, early customers getting restless. Later, Rachel turned back to the griddle, her face tense. "After lunch, I need to figure this out." "Figure what out?" Emma asked, but Rachel just shook her head, kept cooking, looking weary. A week after Karoline's video, Cedar Grove Cafe was still Atkinson's busiest spot. The crowds eased slightly from that first day, but still doubled normal. Rachel had to print new menus, nudge prices up a bit to cover extra staff pay. That morning was foggy. Emma got to the cafe even though her shift started later. She'd promised to help sort a delivery. The mailman had just left when she arrived. "Hey, Emma," he said cheerfully. "Lots of mail for Rachel today. Everyone wants to write the famous cafe lady." Emma smiled politely, taking the stack. Since the story broke, Rachel got letters from everywhere, some backing her refusal of Karoline, others with insults that made Emma flush. Rachel stopped opening them after day 3. Emma sorted the mail into piles: bills, business stuff, and the opinion letters. Rachel called them shoved under the counter for later. One envelope in the mix caught her eye, cream-colored, heavier with neat slanted handwriting, no return address, just Rachel Bennett, Cedar Grove Cafe. Emma set it aside. Something felt special. The morning flew by in a blur of toast and coffee. Near noon, as the breakfast crowd thinned, Emma remembered the envelope. "This came in the mail today," she said to Rachel, pulling it from her apron. "I think you should see it." Rachel looked up from the shift schedule. "If it's another jerk saying I'm ruining America, I'm not reading it." "I don't think it is." Emma handed it over. "This handwriting looks personal." Rachel sighed, took it, turned it over, fingers brushing the edge. "Fine, later," she said. But instead of tossing it in the opinion box, she slipped it into her pocket and went back to the schedule. Emma didn't see the envelope again until closing. While wiping tables, she spotted Rachel alone in a corner, the cream envelope open in front of her. Rachel sat still, hand over her mouth as she read. "Everything okay?" Emma asked softly. Rachel flinched. "What?" "Yeah." She folded the letter carefully, slid it back into the envelope. "No, I don't know. It's from her. Karoline Leavitt." Emma stopped wiping. "What's it say?" "That's the weird thing," Rachel replied slowly. "It's not what I expected at all." Before she could explain, Luis called from the kitchen that he'd finished cleaning and was heading out. The moment passed. Rachel tucked the letter away, locked up. The next day was the cafe's day off. Emma stayed home helping Clara with laundry and groceries. While putting away cans, her phone rang. It was Rachel. "Can you come to the cafe at 4? Rachel asked, skipping hellos. "I'm holding a staff meeting." "Something wrong?" Emma worried. The cafe was doing well. They wouldn't cut hours, right? "No, nothing's wrong. I need to tell everyone something." "It's important," Rachel said, her voice oddly calm. At 4, Emma arrived at Cedar Grove Cafe with the crew: Sophie, the 2 new waitresses, Luis, the cooks, and old Ben, who washed dishes on weekends. They sat around tables pushed together in the middle, sipping coffee, guessing. "Maybe she's selling," Sophie whispered. "This famous, it'd fetch a good price." "Or expanding," a new waitress suggested. "My cousin's place in Boston got big off a celebrity, opened 3 more spots." The bell jingled, and Rachel walked in. Her hair fell soft around her face, and she wore a green dress instead of her usual jeans and tee. "Thanks for coming." She stood at the head of the tables. "I know it's your day off." She took a deep breath. "This past week, I've been thinking a lot about the cafe, about you all, and about what happened with Karoline Leavitt." The group went quiet. No one had dared bring that up to Rachel directly. "I got a letter from her," she went on, pulling the cream envelope from her bag. "I'd like to read it to you if that's okay." No one objected. Rachel unfolded it, smoothed it out, and began. "Dear Miss Bennett," her voice was steady. "First, I want to thank you for your honesty when I came to your cafe. In a world where people often hide how they feel, your candor was refreshing." Rachel paused, breathed, then continued. "I've learned that when faced with rejection, the best response is kindness, not to seem noble, but because everyone has their reasons." Rachel kept reading, her voice trembling slightly. Emma glanced around. Everyone was rapt. Even Ben stopped fiddling with his coffee mug. "I didn't post that video about your cafe to shame you," Rachel read. "I did it because even in my brief stop I could tell Cedar Grove Cafe is special. The way your staff looked at you, the smell of fresh roasted coffee, the kids' pictures on the bulletin board. Those things matter. It's a place that holds a community together." Rachel's voice broke a little. "My politics come from wanting to help struggling communities like this one. We might differ on how, but I believe we want the same things: good jobs, safe neighborhoods, and hope for our kids' futures." Rachel glanced up briefly, then back to the letter. "I'm not asking you to change your mind about me, or serve me if I come back. That's your right as the owner. I just hope you keep doing what you're doing, serving great coffee and giving this town a place to gather. That matters more than any political divide." Rachel lowered the letter, signed simply, Karoline. She looked at her staff, hands shaking slightly. "I was unfair. I judged her without knowing her. When she had every reason to be mad, she chose kindness instead." The room stayed silent. Emma felt a lump in her throat. Rachel squared her shoulders. "I've made a decision, and I wanted you to hear it first." Rachel didn't get to say what it was. A pipe in the kitchen burst right then, sending everyone scrambling for brooms and buckets. By the time the plumber arrived, the meeting broke up. Emma got home late, soaked and exhausted. Clara was watching a movie in the living room, a bowl of popcorn on her lap. "You look like you swam here," Clara said, patting the sofa beside her. "Rough day. Cafe flooded." Emma kicked off her shoes, collapsed next to her. But something interesting happened before that. She told Clara about Karoline Leavitt's letter. As she recited what she could remember, she saw Clara's face shift, something like recognition. "What's wrong?" Emma asked. Clara pursed her lips, set the popcorn aside. "Her grandmother," she said softly. "Did she mention a name?" "No, just that her grandma taught her to meet rejection with kindness." Emma eyed Clara. "Why? Do you know her?" Clara stood, leaning on the chair. "Wait a sec." She shuffled to her bedroom. Emma heard drawers opening and closing. Minutes later, Clara returned with an old leather-bound photo album, green and faded. She sat, opened it carefully. "I haven't looked at these in years," she muttered, flipping brittle pages. The album was full of black and white shots, young women in wide-collared dresses, men in work shirts by old cars, kids playing in dusty yards. Clara stopped mid-book, pointing to a photo of two girls on some steps. One was clearly a young Clara, thin and serious. The other had wild curly hair and a beaming smile. "This is Margaret," Clara said, voice tender. "But everyone called her Maggie." Emma gaped. "Maggie, Karoline Leavitt's grandmother." "Yup," Clara touched the photo lightly. "We grew up together in New Hampshire, best friends from toddlers till she moved away at 18. Emma couldn't believe it. "You knew her grandma, and didn't say anything when I told you about the cafe." "I wasn't sure at first," Clara admitted. "Leavitt wasn't Maggie's maiden name, and there are plenty of tough grandmas around here. But when you said what was in that letter, about kindness after rejection, I knew, that's pure Maggie." Emma studied the photo. The girl who'd become Karoline's grandma had a fierce glint in her eyes, despite the smile, arms slung around Clara like a shield. "What was she like?" Emma asked. Clara smiled. Oh, she was something, tough as nails, but a soft heart, didn't take any nonsense. If she loved you, she'd fight a bear for you. If she didn't, you'd know quick. Why'd you lose touch? Life, Clara said simply. I went off to work. She stayed. We wrote for a while, but it faded. No phones or email back then. She turned another page, revealing more shots of the girls by a pool, in school uniforms, decorating a Christmas tree. We were dirt poor, but Maggie always said she'd make something of herself, Clara recalled. Voice distant. I became a nurse, and she raised a family. Heard it wasn't easy. Emma recalled snippets about Karoline's childhood, middle class, but her grandma was a big influence. Now her granddaughter's famous. Emma grinned. And showing up at Rachel's cafe in Atkinson. Life's a circle. Clara closed the album, set it on the table. I should have recognized her if she takes after Maggie's line. Think she'd want to meet. You mean ask Rachel? Maybe. Hold off. Clara cut in, grabbing the popcorn again. Rachel needs to figure herself out first. But yeah, I'd like to meet Maggie's granddaughter, see how she turned out. That night, Emma lay awake, thinking about the circles connecting them. How strange that Karoline Leavitt, granddaughter of her grandma's best friend, walked into Cedar Grove Cafe that night, and answered rejection with kindness, a trait passed down from someone who grew up with Clara. It wasn't just coincidence. It felt like an unfinished story. Her phone buzzed in the dark, startling her awake, knocking over a glass of water. Hello? She mumbled, groggy. Emma, it's Rachel. Can you come to the cafe early? I need to talk about yesterday, before the pipe burst. Rachel's voice was different, less sharp, softer. I'll be there in 20, Emma promised, dressing quickly in the dark, glancing at Clara still asleep. On the table was the album, open to Clara and Maggie's photo. Atkinson's streets were empty, the sky shifting from black to deep blue pink at the horizon. When she reached Cedar Grove Cafe, the lights were on. Through the window, Emma saw Rachel alone at the counter, coffee mug in front of her. Emma tapped the glass. Rachel looked up, waved. Thanks for coming, Rachel said, as Emma stepped in. Coffee. Emma hung her coat, sat beside her. The cafe was empty, quiet like a theater after the show. Rachel poured coffee, slid it over. I didn't sleep last night, she confessed. Kept thinking about that letter, about what's next. And? Emma asked, hands around the warm mug. I'm going to invite Karoline Leavitt back to eat here, Rachel said plainly. Emma nearly spilled her coffee. Seriously? Rachel nodded. I wasn't fair. I judged her by her politics, not who she is. She traced the mug's rim with her finger. My dad always said strong people admit when they're wrong. I think I was wrong, Emma. Emma didn't know what to say. The Rachel she'd worked with for 2 years rarely owned up to mistakes, recipes, schedules, deep beliefs. I think that's brave, Emma said finally. Rachel gave a small low laugh. Doesn't feel brave, just scary. What if it's a mistake? What if she uses it against me? From her letter, it doesn't seem like she would. Emma replied. No, it doesn't. Rachel sipped her coffee. That's why I wanted to tell you first. I value your take, and I need help writing an invite. I'm no good with words like this. Emma felt honored that Rachel trusted her. They discussed the invitation letter's contents, with Emma hesitating whether to share Clara's revelation. Would that connection make Rachel more comfortable, or more wary about inviting Karoline? There's something I want to tell you, Emma finally spoke up. It's actually pretty amazing. She explained how Clara realized she'd been childhood best friends with Karoline's grandmother. Rachel's eyes widened, interrupting. Are you serious? Your grandma actually knew her grandma. Yeah, best friends until my grandma moved away. Emma nodded. She has photos and everything. Rachel set her mug down hard, coffee sloshing onto the counter. Unbelievable. It's like fate, Emma suggested. I was going to say weird coincidence, but yeah, maybe fate. Rachel wiped the coffee with a napkin. Does your grandma want to meet her? I think she does, Emma said cautiously. If you're okay with it. Rachel went quiet, thinking, what if we invite both? Karoline and your grandma. A real conversation, not just an apology over food. Her eyes lit up. Just private, after closing, The four of us, you, me, her, and Karoline. You'd need to be there for your grandma. And she hesitated. Might need some moral support. Emma smiled. I think it's perfect. They spent the next hour drafting the invite. Rachel wanted it handwritten like Karoline's letter, testing several versions before settling on one she liked. Respectful but not too formal, apologetic without groveling. Dear Miss Leavitt, Karoline, it read. Thank you for your letter. Your kindness in the face of my rejection made me rethink a lot. I'd like to invite you to dinner at Cedar Grove Cafe Friday night after closing, to apologize in person, and offer the meal I denied you. There's also something incredible. Clara Hayes, grandma of my waitress Emma, believes she was best friends with your grandmother in New Hampshire. She has photos and memories to share, if you're interested. This isn't a public event, no press, no cameras, just a chance to talk as people, not politics. Sincerely, Rachel Bennett. Rachel sealed it in a cafe envelope, writing Karoline's name on the front. How do we get it to her? She wondered aloud. I can help, Emma offered. Jake Carter, that reporter who keeps coming, said he's covering Karoline's community college visit tomorrow. I could ask him to deliver it. Rachel hesitated. Can we trust a reporter to keep a private letter quiet? I think so. He's been pretty fair in his coverage, Emma replied. When they finished, the morning staff started arriving. The cafe's routine swept in, brewing coffee, prepping pastries, pulling chairs off tables. But something felt different. Rachel moved lighter, her smile easier, the burden of anger seeming to lift. As Emma tied her apron to start her shift, Rachel called out. Do you think she'll come? She asked, a flicker of vulnerability showing. I think she will, Emma said confidently. From everything she seems to believe in second chances. Rachel nodded, squared her shoulders, and turned to greet the day's first customers. But before that, Emma heard her whisper. Hope you're right. Jake Carter agreed to deliver the letter, promising not to turn it into a story, though his curious eyes made that vow seem shaky. 2 days later, Rachel got a text from an unknown number. Miss Bennett, this is Karoline Leavitt. Thank you for your invitation. I'd be honored to come Friday. The connection to my grandma means a lot. Can I bring dessert? Rachel read it to Emma, hands shaking. She's coming, she repeated. She's actually coming, and bringing dessert. Emma laughed. That's a good sign. Prepping for Friday night quickly took over the cafe. Rachel decided on a special menu, testing 3 coffee blends before picking one with a hint of cinnamon, that even Louise, the pickiest cook, approved. Nothing too fancy, she stressed while planning. I want it to feel like a real cafe meal, just the best version. Emma brought Clara to meet Rachel midweek. The two sat in a cafe corner for nearly an hour, looking through Clara's photo album and talking about Maggie. She was the bravest person I knew, Clara recounted. At 12, some boys were throwing rocks at a stray dog. Maggie marched up, faced 4 kids bigger than us, and said if they threw one more they'd regret it for life. Clara chuckled. They ran like she was twice their size. Emma saw Rachel soften through the stories. It's hard to see someone as an enemy when you picture their grandma defending a pup. At home, Clara fretted over what to wear. It's not a fancy party, Grandma, Emma reassured her. Just be comfortable. I want to look nice for Maggie, Clara insisted, picking a blue dress that suited her, adding a sweater in case the cafe was chilly, and wearing a small silver pin Maggie gave her for her 16th birthday. Haven't worn it in years, she said, fastening it to her collar. But she might recognize it. Family stuff. Rumors buzzed around Atkinson that something was up at the cafe Friday night. Staff kept details tight, but people speculated. Karoline returning, or maybe a food critic. Midweek afternoon, Jake Carter stopped by during Emma's shift. Is it true Karoline Leavitt's having dinner here tomorrow night? He asked, sliding onto a counter stool, eyes gleaming. Emma's tone sharpened. You promised not to make a fuss. I haven't, Jake protested. But I'm not the only reporter around. Folks are talking. Rachel emerged from the kitchen, hearing Jake's voice. Mr. Carter, she said coolly. What can I do for you? Jake shifted awkwardly. Just checking if you need anything for tomorrow, since I helped with the letter. Rachel softened slightly. Thanks for the help, really, Rachel told Jake. But this isn't a media thing. Just a private dinner. Of course, Jake nodded, though he looked a bit let down. It's just such a good story. Two sides reconciling, finding common ground. People need to hear stuff like this these days. Maybe, Rachel replied, but not yet. It needs to be real, not performed for cameras. Jake left without pushing further, but Emma worried if other reporters caught wind of the dinner, they might not be as gentle. Friday morning dawned clear and crisp. Rachel got to the cafe before sunrise to prep, though it closed at 6 p.m., leaving just an hour to get ready for Karoline. Emma arrived at noon for her shift, finding the kitchen in organized chaos, every surface covered with food. Rachel was kneading dough herself, the smell of baking bread wafting out. It's just dinner, Emma teased. Not a state banquet, I know. Rachel wiped flour off her cheek, but I want it perfect. The day sped by in a blur of customers and prep. Near the end of her shift, Emma called Clara to confirm she was set. Luis volunteered to pick her up on his way over. At 6 sharp, Rachel flipped the closed sign and locked up. Staff hustled to clean, setting up the nicest table near the window but out of street view. Rachel dug out a tablecloth and cloth napkins, a rare touch of luxury for the cafe. As she arranged silverware, she suddenly stopped. What if it's awkward? What if no one knows what to say? There'll be plenty to talk about, Emma assured her. Between the cafe, politics, and her grandma, the trick will be fitting it all into one dinner. By 6:30, Clara arrived with Luis. She looked radiant in her blue dress, white hair neatly brushed, silver pin glinting on her collar, clutching the fabric-wrapped album carefully. You look beautiful, Emma hugged her gently. Clara smoothed her dress, nervous. Think she'll recognize the girl in the photos. It's been so long. She will, Emma said confidently. By 6:55, everything was ready. The table was set, food kept warm, soft music playing from the cafe's old radio. Rachel wore a simple black dress but kept her apron, a familiar touch that made Emma smile. They heard a car pull up outside. Rachel took a deep breath. Here we go, she whispered. A light but firm knock sounded. Rachel smoothed her apron, took another breath, and crossed the floor. Her hand hovered on the lock for a moment before turning it. Karoline Leavitt stood there, holding a ribbon-tied bakery box, dressed in a blue shirt and khakis, casual but neat. Her smile was shy. Miss Bennett? She extended a hand. Thanks for inviting me. Rachel shook it. Call me Rachel. Thanks for coming, especially after last time. Water under the bridge, Karoline said lightly, stepping inside. Emma stood by the table where Clara sat, getting her first good look at Karoline. That first night had been too hectic to notice. She was younger than Emma expected, with bright eyes and a warm smile. I brought pie. Karoline held up the box. Apple from a little place on Maple Street. The owner swears it's the best around. Annie's place, Rachel nodded. She's not exaggerating. Her pies win the fair every year. The moment felt surreal to Emma. Not long ago, Rachel wouldn't serve Karoline a coffee. Now they were chatting about pie like old friends. Let me introduce you. Rachel led Karoline to the table. This is Emma Hayes, my best waitress. She winked. She's also the one who made me rethink some things. Karoline shook Emma's hand. Nice to meet you officially. And this, Rachel continued, is Clara Hayes, Emma's grandma. Karoline turned to Clara, who sat upright, hands clasped in her lap. Seeing her, Karoline's face shifted, frozen, eyes wide. Mrs. Hayes, she said softly. Clara smiled, eyes glistening. You look just like your Uncle Paul, Maggie's little brother, same eyes. Karoline set the pie box on a nearby table, stepping toward Clara. You really knew my grandma when she was young. Clara nodded, patting the chair beside her. Sit down, girl. I've got stories. As Karoline sat, Clara opened the album in front of her. Here's where it starts. She pointed to the photo of two girls on steps. Karoline leaned in, her breath catching. Maggie, she whispered, touching the image of the curly-haired girl with a bold smile. I've never seen her this young. We were 14 when it was taken, Clara explained. Your great-grandpa snapped it before heading to the steel mill, a Sunday. She flipped to another page. This one's at the swimming hole, where we ditch chores every summer. Emma and Rachel exchanged a look, sensing they were witnessing something special. Rachel nodded toward the kitchen, and Emma followed. Let's give them a minute. Rachel checked the food. This matters more than dinner getting cold. They busied themselves in the kitchen, hearing chatter from the dining room. Karoline's occasional laugh, or Clara exclaiming, "That's right, I'd forgotten that part." After about 15 minutes, Rachel peeked out. Karoline and Clara were still at the photos, but nearing the album's end, a good time to serve. "Everything's ready," she announced, carrying out a tray of fragrant grilled chicken sandwiches, cheese melted perfectly. Emma followed with mashed potatoes and smoked green beans. "Looks amazing," Karoline said, helping Clara close the album carefully. "It's been a while since I had a home-cooked meal like this." They sat around the table, a brief awkwardness passing before Clara bowed her head. Everyone followed, listening to her short prayer for the meal and their company. As they ate, conversation flowed easier than they'd expected. Karoline shared about her grandma, prompting nods from Clara. "She was the same when she grew up," Clara confirmed. "Loyal to a fault, tough as rock, but a warm heart." "That's her," Karoline agreed. "She saved me, really gave me an anchor when everything was a mess." She looked at Clara. "Did you know she kept your high school graduation photo in her Bible till the day she died? I found it cleaning out her house, didn't know who it was." Clara covered her mouth, eyes welling again. "I didn't know she kept tabs on me." "She did," Karoline said gently. "Your nursing degree clipping, your community award too. She never forgot you," Clara whispered. "All those years I thought she'd moved on from me." Rachel set her fork down. "I owe you an apology," she said to Karoline. "I judged you unfairly, didn't give you a chance." Karoline shook her head. "Everyone's entitled to their stance." "Stance is fine," Rachel toyed with her napkin, "but not rudeness. My parents lost their grocery store in the economic crash. My dad blamed politicians with certain views. When he passed, I swore I wouldn't support those policies." She met Karoline's eyes, "But that doesn't excuse how I treated you." "I get it," Karoline replied. "More than you think. I grew up watching good people lose everything. Jobs, homes, hope. That's why I got into politics." She gave a small smile. "Maybe we agree more than we differ, if we both want to help people who're struggling." Emma watched Rachel nod slowly, processing Karoline's words. The tension in Rachel's shoulders, so familiar to Emma from years working together, seemed to ease a bit. After the main course, they cleared the table for apple pie with vanilla ice cream. Karoline insisted on clearing plates, despite Rachel's protests. Over dessert, talk shifted to lighter topics, favorite books, movies, the best fishing spots around. Clara yawned softly, and Emma realized it was nearly 10. "I should get you home," she said reluctantly. Karoline stood at once. "Of course it's late." She took Clara's hand. "Miss Hayes, meeting you was." She searched for the word, a gift like finding a piece of my grandma I didn't know I'd lost. Clara patted her cheek. "You're a good one. Maggie would be proud." She handed Karoline the album. "Take it. I've copied the photos ages ago. She'd want you to have the originals." Karoline resisted, but Clara insisted, and she finally accepted, cradling it like a treasure. As they cleaned up, Rachel pulled Emma aside. "Mind if I talk to Karoline alone for a few minutes? There's something I want to discuss." Emma nodded, curious but not prying. She helped Clara into her sweater, watching Karoline shake Rachel's hand. "Thanks for tonight," she said. "Best meal I've had in years." Rachel smiled genuinely, a rare sight for Emma. "Next time you're in Atkinson, doors always open, no invite needed." As Emma and Clara stepped outside, Emma glanced back through the window. Karoline and Rachel sat back at the table, talking animatedly, though the cafe darkened around them. "Turned out nice, didn't it?" Clara said as they reached Emma's car. "More than anyone expected." Emma wondered what they were saying, what was left to say after a night like that. She'd find out soon enough, but for now, she was content that a small bridge had been built across a big divide. maybe enough for one night. Emma didn't ask Rachel about her private talk with Karoline, trusting she'd share when ready. 3 days later, Rachel seemed distant, often staring off with a slight frown. When Emma asked if she was okay, Rachel just nodded and said she was thinking a lot. Midweek morning, Rachel called a staff meeting before opening. The team gathered around the joined tables, where they'd met before the pipe burst. Emma noticed Rachel brought donuts and coffee from Annie's, a rare treat. "I've got news," Rachel began, as everyone settled. "I want you to hear it from me before rumors spread." The staff exchanged uneasy glances. In a small town like Atkinson, news from the boss often wasn't good. The cafe closing, Rachel selling it. "As you know," Rachel continued, "revenue's been up since Karoline Leavitt's video about us. But even with the crowds, we've been struggling financially for a while." She took a deep breath. "Last month before all this I applied for a small loan to fix the kitchen and extend hours. Got denied because profits were too low. The bank didn't think we were worth the risk." Emma's stomach tightened. It sounded like a shutdown announcement. "But something's changed," Rachel said, her voice brightening. She pulled a white envelope from her apron pocket, not Karoline's cream letter, but a business one with an unfamiliar logo. "After Friday night, Karoline told me something surprising," Rachel said. "The night I kicked her out as she left, she made a call from her car." Emma leaned in. She remembered seeing Karoline in the car, assuming she was venting to someone. "That call," Rachel went on, "was to a friend who runs a small business investment fund. Karoline came to Atkinson looking for local businesses to support. Even after I refused her, she pitched Cedar Grove Cafe." Murmurs rippled through. Nobody saw that coming. "This fund," Rachel held up the envelope, "invests in small businesses in struggling communities, capital for expansion, repairs, equipment, jobs." She pulled out the letter. "Yesterday, I got an offer from them." The room went dead quiet. "They want to invest in us," Rachel said, voice trembling slightly. "Enough to overhaul the kitchen, expand into the empty storefront next door, build a proper waiting area. No more customers standing in the rain." Emma could hardly believe it. The empty storefront next door had sat vacant since the hardware store closed. Combining it would double their space. "Wait though," Sophie piped up. "Is there a catch? Do they want to make it upscale or a chain or something?" Rachel shook her head. "That's the great part. They don't want control. I keep full ownership and decision-making. The only condition is creating at least 5 new jobs and offering health insurance for full-time staff." The group buzzed with excitement. Insurance was something Rachel always wanted but couldn't afford. "So that's what she talked about Friday night?" Emma asked. "About this investment?" "Yes," Rachel confirmed. "She wanted me to know privately first, make sure there were no strings. She's not directly involved, just the one who recommended us." Luis, who rarely spoke, raised a hand. Why'd she do it after getting kicked out? The question everyone silently wondered. Rachel paused for a moment. "I asked her that too," she said simply. "Because it's what my grandma would have done." Emma thought of Clara's stories about Maggie, loyalty, protection, belief in second chances. It made sense. "What now?" Emma asked. "If we accept, renovations start next month," Rachel explained. "We'd stay open most of the time, but might close for a week when the main kitchen equipment gets swapped." She looked around. Rachel scanned the staff. "It'll change everything for us, more hours, bigger responsibilities. I'll need shift supervisors, a separate manager for the expansion." Emma saw her coworkers' eyes light up, realizing what this could mean for their futures. "I haven't said yes yet," Rachel continued. "I wanted your input first. It affects everyone's lives." "Are you kidding?" Sophie blurted. "Say yes. This is what we've all been waiting for." Others nodded eagerly. Rachel had never hidden the financial struggles. They'd worked through leaky roofs, broken AC, outdated gear. A chance at new space and health insurance felt like a dream. "I'm still processing," Rachel admitted. "It feels weird taking help tied to Karoline Leavitt, like I'm compromising my principles." Emma thought carefully before speaking. "Clara always says good can come from unexpected places. Maybe this is one of those times." She's right, Louise chimed in unexpectedly. It's not you endorsing her politics. You're just taking investment for the cafe, a place that feeds and helps people. That's not political. Rachel looked at the hopeful faces around the room. You're right, she said slowly, straightening her shoulders. I've been overthinking it. I'll accept the offer. Cheers erupted. Sophie hugged the waitress next to her. Louise cracked a rare smile. As they settled, Rachel raised a hand. One more thing. When this is done, I want to change how we operate. Not just the building, but our approach. She looked straight at Emma, starting with the door policy. From now on, Cedar Grove Cafe serves everyone, no exceptions. We might not agree with someone's views, but we don't turn away the hungry. That's not us. Emma felt proud of Rachel. The journey from that first night to now was incredible. After the meeting, as they prepped to open, Emma caught Rachel staring through the window at the empty storefront next door. Can you believe it? Rachel asked softly. Last month I was stressing over the electric bill, now I'm planning an expansion. It's a miracle, Emma agreed. Have you told your mom yet? She hesitated, remembering Rachel's dad had passed. I stopped by Mom's last night, Rachel replied. Told her everything from kicking Karoline out, to the dinner, to the investment offer. She gave a faint smile. She said Dad always believed businesses should bring communities together, not divide them. I think he'd approve, politics aside. Emma nodded, relieved. One more thing Karoline said that night, Rachel added, voice thoughtful. She came to Atkinson to find businesses worth supporting. Our town's been on her radar for months. Really? Why here? Because we're the kind of place that gets overlooked, not big enough for major development, not small enough for tourist charm. Just a regular town with regular people trying to get by. Emma mulled that over while refilling salt shakers for the morning shift. It was strange that Karoline saw potential in Atkinson even before the cafe incident, but maybe not. As Clara said, life's full of circles, sometimes connecting in ways no one expects. 6 months flew by. Winter turned to spring. Spring bloomed into summer. Cedar Grove Cafe closed for 8 days in April to replace the entire kitchen with shiny new equipment. Rachel fretted the whole time, calling contractors twice daily. When it reopened, the change was striking. The wall between the old cafe and the empty storefront was gone, doubling the seating. The counter stretched, curving into the new section, with big windows letting in natural light. But some things stayed. Green and white checkered curtains still hung, the bulletin board remained covered with kids' drawings and community notices, and Rachel still brewed coffee herself each morning, insisting no one got the strength just right. Emma no longer wore a waitress uniform, now assistant manager, with a small desk in her own corner, something she took quiet pride in. The promotion brought a higher salary and health insurance covering Clara's heart meds. One warm July morning, Emma arrived early to handle a delivery. As she checked invoices against boxes, the bell jingled. She looked up to see Karoline Leavitt walk in, carrying a briefcase. Morning, she smiled. Window table free. It had been her spot since that dinner 6 months ago. Karoline visited monthly when in Atkinson, always at the same table, ordering the same thing. 2 eggs over easy, wheat toast, crispy bacon, then working on her laptop for a few hours. It's yours, Emma grinned back. Coffee? Emma brought a mug and a fresh pot. Rachel's in a meeting with new staff, but she'll be out soon. No rush, Karoline opened her briefcase. I've got plenty to do. Rachel had hired 3 new waitresses and 2 cooks over the past few months. The latest batch from the local recovery center, people rebuilding lives after addiction. It was Rachel's idea to partner with the center, offering jobs to program graduates. When Rachel finished her meeting, the morning rush was in full swing. The cafe hummed with chatter and clinking cutlery. She stopped by Karoline's table on her way to the kitchen. Usual order. You know me too well, Karoline replied. Their rapport was easy now, the initial awkwardness long gone. They didn't always agree. Emma had overheard a few lively policy debates, but it was respectful, even friendly. As Emma moved between tables, pouring coffee and taking orders, she caught snippets of talk, 2 construction workers discussing a new factory on the town's edge, a group of teachers planning a back-to-school fair, a young couple excitedly sharing news of their first home loan approval. Atkinson's vibe had shifted since winter. There was energy, a sense of possibility it never had before. Cedar Grove Cafe wasn't the only business transformed. The fund Karoline connected them to had invested in 6 other local spots. The hardware store reopened with a modern tool rental section. The old theater got refurbished. A vacant downtown lot turned into a small startup hub. During a lull, Emma stopped by Karoline's table to top off her coffee. "How's Clara?" she asked. "I've been meaning to visit her again." "She'd love that," Emma replied. "She's doing great. Her doctor says her heart's stronger than it's been in years," Emma continued. "That's wonderful," Karoline said. "My offer still stands. If she ever wants to record her memories of Grandma Maggie, my family would treasure it." Emma nodded. "I'll remind her." As she turned to go, Karoline added, "By the way, that college scholarship program we talked about is happening. First applications open this fall. Don't forget to apply." Emma's face lit up. "Really? That's amazing news. You've earned it," Karoline said simply. Later, as the lunch crowd thinned, Emma watched Rachel chat with Karoline while she paid. There was no tension between them, no trace of the anger that once drove Rachel to refuse her that first night. "A penny for your thoughts." Clara's voice broke Emma's reverie. Clara now visited Cedar Grove Cafe a few times a week, sitting at her own table, knitting and chatting with regulars. Emma sat across from her, just thinking how much has changed, not just the cafe but the town. All from one moment that could have gone differently. Clara nodded wisely. "Life turns on small moments, sweetheart. The choices we make when hurt or angry can lead us down very different paths." They both watched Karoline shake Rachel's hand and head out, pausing to greet a few familiar customers. She'd become a regular face in Atkinson, not a politician, but a person. "Know what the most shocking thing Karoline did was?" Clara asked, eyes twinkling. "What?" "She showed that people with different views can still treat each other with dignity, still find common ground." Clara's hand stilled on her knitting. "In this day and age, that's almost revolutionary." Emma pondered her words as she watched Karoline drive off. The most shocking thing wasn't the TikTok video or the investment fund, nor even the forgiveness toward Rachel. The most shocking thing was the bridge she built, a way for people to step toward each other instead of turning away. One simple choice had changed everything. As Emma got back to work, she realized that was maybe the biggest lesson. Bridges can be built by anyone, anywhere, just by choosing to meet rejection with kindness. The story of Karoline Leavitt and Cedar Grove Cafe in Atkinson, New Hampshire, isn't just a feel-good tale. It mirrors real issues in American society today, where political division and social tension often overshadow human connection. In the modern context, the U.S. faces deep polarization, from debates over public policy to attitudes toward figures like Karoline, a young White House press secretary under Trump's administration. The story shows how Karoline, despite being refused service by Rachel over her Trump ties, a polarizing symbol, chose to post a TikTok praising the cafe instead of retaliating, sparking a wave of customers and an investment opportunity from a small business fund. This reflects a U.S. reality. Social media can amplify both conflict and kindness, depending on how people wield it. The lesson here is clear and practical for real life. When faced with rejection or disagreement, choose kindness over hostility. Rachel initially kicked Karoline out due to personal pain. Her family lost their store in an economic crisis, which she blamed on policies Karoline represented. But through an intimate evening with Clara, Emma's grandma, and Karoline, Rachel saw the unfairness in her judgment, leading to her decision to open the cafe to all, regardless of views. It's a reminder that in today's America, where small communities like Atkinson often get overlooked amid big cities, building bridges like the fund Karoline linked to, bringing jobs and healthcare, starts with small acts. Try listening, like Clara sharing about Maggie, or supporting like Karoline did with the cafe, instead of building walls. In a society quick to divide, choosing dialogue and mutual help despite differences is how healing and progress happen. A lesson from Cedar Grove Cafe anyone can apply, from small towns to big cities. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss stories like how Karoline Leavitt and Cedar Grove Cafe built a bridge from rejection. We'd love to spread more kindness with you. Thanks for joining us, and see you in the next video, where we'll explore another